Who turned the Muslims' paradise into a brothel? Is it true that this is the heaven of Almighty Allah? Is it true that it is a major cause of suicide and terrorist operations? Why does the widespread image have a sexual, and not a spiritual, indication? Why is heaven dedicated to the pleasure of men, but not women? Why 72 beautiful white women, and why is there a focus on being virgins forever? And why there are immortal children, are they for sex or for service? Welcome all my friends to With Shoaib show. Welcome all my friends to With Shoaib show. Our paramount question today: why is the widespread perception of the paradise of Muslims portrayed as all sex, and beautiful women for the sake of sex, and our Lord himself is the one who creates huris, angels of virgin girls, in order for the Muslim male to endlessly have intercourse? Why do women not have a share of all such sex? Why do they not have a male who? Why are there no spiritualities at all? Why is there no talk of bliss near Almighty Allah? Today's answers I shall present to you through more than perspective. We start with who confirms that heaven is a place of endless sexual pleasures for men. Islamic preacher, Salafi, Sami Abdul Hamid Hamouda, accuses everyone who denies sex in paradise as denying what is provided for in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of his Prophet. That is, he accuses the denier of infidelity, i.e., to shed his blood with impunity, just because he imagines a paradise of another kind. Although this Salafi does not know with certainty and did not see with his own eyes, nor did any dead person come back and tell us what the nature of heaven is. However, he assuredly affirms that heaven has sexual pleasures, based on a hadith attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, when they asked him, "Do we have intercourse in paradise?" He said, "Yes, by the one in whose hand my life is, it will be very intimate, so once a man finishes, she will come back in purity, a virgin." That is, whenever a Muslim has sex with his huri, she will be a virgin again, and so on. You shall notice that there is an obsession with white women and a passion for virgins. As you know, we do not have a scientific historical method by which we can be certain that the Prophet actually said that. Saudi Islamic preacher Ibn Uthaymin, in his exegesis of the Almighty's verse, "And they have purified mates in it," confirms that sex exists of course, but without sperm, because the goal of it is not procreation, because paradise does not need children, since those who are in it do not die. That is, as he says, a pure sexual pleasure, without pregnancy and other similar things, and it is like the pleasure of sexual intercourse in this world. I do not know why the commentators of the Holy Quran did not read pairs as souls, i.e., purified souls, because there was no punctuation in the Arabic language in which the Quran was written. And purified souls are more logical. The jurist al-Albani, quote from the Prophet Muhammad, "A man can have 100 virgins a day." By the way, al-Albani died in 1999, and I do not know how he was assured after 1,400 years that the Prophet said so. So I always stress that there is no scientific way to be sure that the Prophet said these hadiths. We go back to the Islamic preacher Hamouda, who says that a good Muslim will have at least 70 huris, virgin girls, along with 2 wives, and 80,000 servants of immortal boys. I think that there is no problem with the fact that paradise for Muslims has sex, but the problem is that it is all sex, a place closer to a brothel. Sex without love, without any feelings, and as if the Muslim was a human machine. As to this perception, I regret to say that a brothel is for men only, and women are used for the pleasure of men alone. It is an embarrassing perception in fact, and I do not know how there are Muslims who might defend it. I am a Muslim and reject it completely. It definitely causes embarrassment to other Muslims like me, and they consider it illogical. Perhaps for this reason, the researcher in Islamic affairs, Muhammad Abd al-Salam Darouj, confirms that sex exists in heaven, but in a different way from the world. This method is known only to God. That is, he does not know how, but he does affirm its existence. But Islamic preacher Khalid al-Jindi says that there is sex, but not in the reproductive organs that men and women have in our world. That is to say, paradise is free from the sexual relations that exist in this world. Simply put, sex is also present. The weird thing is that none of them spoke of sex as an expression of love and affection between a man and a woman but as mechanical pleasure. And women, whether they are wives or houris, are merely sexual objects for a man's pleasure. The Islamic Quranic sect Nihad Haddad has a different opinion, saying that heaven has no sex, but purified husbands and immortal children. It is a paradise where souls and spirits marry. And they shall enjoy absolute happiness. Indeed, no one visited paradise and then came back and told us, but Mr. Nihad's perception of paradise is much superior to the widespread sexual perceptions. However, it does not solve some problems. For example, if a righteous Muslim male will incessantly enjoy houris and intercourse, what is the reward of a righteous Muslim woman? Islamic preacher Muhammad Meetwali al-Sharawi says that God has honored women, because a woman who is noble does not accept or like to have multiple men be her husbands. Well, does this mean that a man who has many women is not noble? Al-Sharawi's answer is that this is the nature of a woman, unlike that of a man. This view is supported by the Islamic preacher Muhammad al-Arifi, who says that a woman does not desire beauty in a man, unlike a young man who naturally desires a gorgeous woman. For this reason, Almighty Allah provided the man with the houri, virgin girls, and did not provide a woman with the same. As you can see, it is balderdash. It does not solve the problem, which is that the paradise they are talking about is not just dealing with men and women on an equal footing. So, who are the houris on whose basis a sex-filled paradise was built? According to Muslim jurist and historian al-Tabari, Awa, Virgo girls, is the plural of hora, which means a young, beautiful, gorgeous white woman with very black eyes. Note that it should be white. This is the standard of beauty for most interpreters and jurists. Likewise, Almighty Allah creates them specifically, as the Islamic preacher Dr. Muhammad Abu Layla said, just as he created mankind and the jinn. I am sorry to say, is the only responsibility of our Lord, glory be to him, based on this conception, to create women just for the pleasure of Muslim males? What a strange and unfortunate perception. In fact, I cannot accept it as a Muslim. Well, if men have all this, then what about women in paradise? Righteous women, as Dr. Abu Layla asserts, will remain more beautiful than al-Huralain, virgin girls. Even if the woman dies when she is old or sick, then in paradise she will be turned into a beautiful young woman. The aim of this opinion or perception is to make her husband happy sexually as a beautiful woman. What is the feeling of any woman when she sees her husband having sex with hundreds of virgin girls? And why don't we have young virgins so that she also listens like her husband? Of course, she will be a pleasure for her husband, but is it normal for her to see him with 72 houris? Oddly enough. As for the righteous Muslim woman who was not married in this world, she will choose her husband in the hereafter. Only one husband. Dr. Abu Layla confirms that our Lord will take her malice and hatred off her, which is caused by her jealousy towards her husband, and this is strange, so why does God not do the opposite? Mostly in order not to be annoyed by her husband who spends his time with houris day and night. As for the woman who hates her husband, she will not be with him in heaven, and she shall choose whomever she wants to marry, but God may change the hatred in herself towards her husband, and she loves to live with him in heaven. Unfortunately, this perception of heaven is widespread and stable among many Muslims, and it plays a key role in recruiting young people into Islamic organizations. And this sexual perception plays a major role in pushing the youth who blew themselves up in terrorist operations against human beings everywhere in the world. And you will find many videos of them on the internet. Young men, as soon as they blow themselves up, in the blink of an eye, will be hugging 72 amazingly beautiful women as they believe, and have eternal and non-stop intercourse. In my opinion, this perception is an essential pillar of a kind of Islam, which I call colonial Islam. Because it motivates the fighting Muslim, so if he succeeds in the conquest and occupation, he will have captives and slaves, and he will also have intercourse continuously. And even if he dies, he will enjoy 72 houris, virgin girls, waiting for him. That is to say, women and money in the mundane life. And women, eating and drinking free of charge, and dwelling in palaces in paradise. Unfortunately, this is what has been taught in many mosques, religious institutions, schools, and even universities so far. German researcher Christoph Luxemburg offers a completely different point of view. Clearly, he is not a Muslim, but his perspective deserves contemplation, and I think it is closer to the truth. He says, there are many words that the exegetes/exegetes/ of the Holy Quran have differed in their interpretation, because they are from the Syriac-Aramaic language. This was the common language in the Middle East at the time. Unfortunately, Muslim jurists did not return to me the original language. The word we married them precedes the word who, so the exegetes/exegetes/ understood it as the marriage with beautiful virgins. But if we take into account the Aramaic derivations of this word who, we find that the meaning of this word means white and the word husband means grapes. The meaning in the verse is that in paradise there are all kinds of fruits, among which is the who husband i.e., white grapes, and that in paradise there are sources of water. This is a more logical explanation. In fact, there is no such thing as immortal children, meaning children to serve the male Muslim in paradise. So, what is meant by children, according to the Syriac synonym, yalda, is the fruits, and they are immortals. The correct meaning is mujalladun. It means frozen fruits, meaning that the fruits of paradise are eaten cold, frozen, unlike the people of hell. And lest no one should say that this researcher is an Orientalist and wants to corrupt the Quran, falsify paradise, and deprive us of houris. The Saudi researcher Louis Al-Sharif confirms the same interpretation. He affirms that there are common grounds between the Aramaic or Syriac language, and Arabic. Because Arabic is one of the dialects of Aramaic. And Syriac-Aramaic, as I said before, is the language that was prevailing in the Middle East at the time. Therefore, as Louis asserts, 85% of the Quran is Aramaic. He explained the Almighty's verse, in a clear Arabic tongue, that Arabic is an Aramaic dialect. The tongue means a dialect, not a language, like, for example, the Moroccan dialect, for it is not a language. The Arabic dialect became a language more than 200 years after the revelation of the Holy Quran, after they made grammar and morphology for it. Well, so what's the conclusion today? Paradise is not a brothel. In fact, no one has seen it and returned to tell us. Yet, I believe that paradise is spiritual, and therefore, I regard the interpretation of the Saudi Louis and the German Luxemburg as being closer to a sound faith logic. This means, like I said before, that the Holy Quran needs a translation from the Syriac-Aramaic, and rendering of all the non-Arabic words found in it. From languages such as Hebrew, Greek, etc. So that we can understand him more as Muslims. I just hope that this will be done by those other than sheikhs. I prefer it be conducted by academics specialized in Arabic and Aramaic. Thank you, my precious friends, and catch you later in future episodes.